No one took the bait. No one wanted to trade me a luxury pouch of Carter Hall for my dwindling tin of Foundry. I understand that's kind of not the best deal. And then I thought, you know, I should sweeten the pot. I should offer something really nice. I've got some nice tobacco that is older now, and I could really, I think, swing things in my favor to get a luxury pouch of Carter Hall. But then I thought, why don't I just buy some Carter Hall? I went out to 3 different grocery over-the-counter style stores, grocery stores, drugstores. Nobody had Carter Hall in a luxury pouch. Everyone had the like big drum, the big jug, the milk, the like recycled milk container. Still got the little kids' pictures on it of Carter Hall. Then I went to the like white trash smoky vape store. They did not have Carter Hall in a pouch. They did have some others in a pouch, but I wasn't willing to take that risk. And I read the comments in my last video and everyone said that Carter Hall is no longer made. What happened? What happened? Was it the pandemic that brought us to this lowly state? No, but when McClelland went under, like everyone, there was all this news about it. I figured it would be news that Carter Hall no longer came in a luxury pouch. Anyway, for that reason, I'm continuing to smoke Foundry, and I don't know. It's a little fumy. It's a little fumy for my my now re-virgined palate. Is that a thing? Can you re-virgin your palate like the same way that like fundamentalist Christians like re-virgin themselves after they've already had sex but then they find Jesus? Can you do that? Regardless, I am smoking Foundry in my Missouri Meerschaum Hardwood Custom Rusticated. Amy Mack sent me this pipe back in the day. Continues to be probably the most commonly used in my rotation. And this is Regrettably Folly Sunday Antisocial Hour. That time each week, not really, but that time on occasion when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity while answering all of his questions. And if you are a piece of humanity with a question for me, leave it down in the comments with the hashtag AskGribbs. I will answer any question, big or small. But first, before we get into all of it, I have a question for you. And I want you to tell me the truth. Would you continue to watch my videos if I were naked? I've reached the first time in my life where I'm starting to consider that maybe nudists have a point. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? I had a wedding, right? And I have lots of weddings, and I wear the same thing to every wedding, which is 10 khaki cargo pants, and generally a shirt with lots of pockets, and a photo vest, and then 2 cameras, and then I'm usually carrying a bag with light stands in it. And everyone just kind of looks at me and they understand that I'm doing my best to look kind of presentable under the circumstances, but I have to carry a lot of stuff. I have to move around. I have to be on it all day long. Got to be able to move. And this has served me well, but something happened that hasn't happened in a long time, which is that I booked a church wedding. And I am a unique combination of poor but aesthetically sensitive and also incredibly anxious about what people are going to think. Not actually, I don't really care what they're going to think of me, but I could totally see like the priest getting on Yelp right after he finishes with the incense and being like, okay, you know, the photographer, he wore cargo pants into my church, you know, 1 star. Now I've had other 1-star reviews. And here's the thing about 1-star reviews. You can't get lower than 1 star, right? So if I actually showed up to the wedding naked, it would still just be a 1-star review. But my point is I went to buy clothes for this church wedding, right? And look, let's go ahead. Look, I'm fat, okay? I know I'm fat. You don't have to tell me. People like to tell fat people that they're fat. We know. People, you know, you have gained a bit of, yeah, I know I've gained a bit of weight. Yeah, there was a pandemic. Have you not heard? Anyway, so my church pants no longer fit. I had 1 pair of church pants. This is not a place where we have a lot of church weddings. Everyone wants to get, you know, you come to the mountains to get married outside in the mountains. And that's cool and all. But when you have a church wedding, you do kind of need to look a little bit more churchy. So I went to go buy a pair of pants. I was like, okay, this is no problem. I'm gonna budget, you know, an hour and a half for this. How long could it take to find a pair of fat guy's pants in this town? Like, we live in America, right? I'm basically svelte compared to a lot of people. Like, I I can get around with just one mobility scooter. I don't need two of them in parallel. And so I'm still doing better than a lot of Americans. And yet, when I budgeted an hour and a half to find a pair of pants in this town, that was not enough. I went to Men's Warehouse. It's not skinny little girls' warehouse, it's Men's Warehouse. Half the dudes I see are fatter than me. I went in there, they had one pair of pants in my size. One pair of pants, and they were ugly, and they cost $150. Why would I buy that pair of pants? Plus, they were way too long. They were way too long. So I don't know. And then of course, they were pants for people larger than me. Am I just an awkward size? I'm like I'm like perfectly balanced obesity versus the people that have have larger waists but shorter legs. By the way, can we talk about how that mobility scooter joke is incredibly offensive and I shouldn't have said that? Anyway, I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. And believe me, my feelings are hurt enough already by the whole fact that our society has created a basic impossibility, which is like finding healthy food. That's a whole nother video that we could get into. But I want to talk about being naked in church. So then I go to another store, and then they've moved the men's dress pants, and now there's like the men's dress pants that are basically sweatpants. Have you seen this shit? It's like they look like dress pants from afar, but when you get up close, they have an elastic band and like tie strings. Who buys this pair of pants? To what occasion are you wearing the sweatpants with pockets and a fly and like a manufacturer's logo on the... Anyway, the point that I want to make is that as a society, I think that the trauma of seeing everyone naked all the time would not really be that much more than the trauma of people like me having to buy clothes. I think it's a really messed up thing that we put people through because no one looks like the clothes models, right? No one walks into a department store and they're like, whatever that model is wearing in that giant picture on the wall, that's what I want in that exact size. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing. Clothes are all about unrealistic expectations, which is also what nudity is about. Or maybe if there was nudity, we wouldn't have the unrealistic expectations. Like, we'd see the really hot people and we'd be like, you still don't look that great naked. Like hey, I'm in the industry. Like I'm the person that makes people look great. I can tell you that the people that look great, they don't look great, man. Like the really hot models. Yeah, I mean they're hot. Like they look good, but they don't look like what they end up looking like in the pictures. And so we put ourselves through these unrealistic... Where the hell is my pipe tamper? You know what's unrealistic is dropping your pipe tamper and thinking you will ever find it again. That's an unrealistic expectation. So we've created this scene in which everyone thinks they're not enough, and then we go buy things trying to like leverage a little bit of enough. We're like, what if I'm just enough so that no one leaves me a bad review because I look like a slob at your wedding? And then I get to the wedding and I'm like, what the hell was I worried about? There's a dude wearing a t-shirt and a blazer. Like not even a solid color t-shirt, but like a branded t-shirt with a blazer over it and jeans in a church. And so there I am participating in the same thing. I'm judging someone based on their clothes. Everyone better dressed than me is one of these fake people that don't exist, and everyone less dressed than me is a total slob. That, once again, Gribbly, symbol of balance. But there's the old stage actor's trick, which is if you're nervous, just imagine everyone in the audience naked, right? And it equalizes. You're up there being vulnerable. You're up there bearing your soul. Just imagine that to come into the play, everyone had to get naked, and they're also bearing everything. And wouldn't that be, would that actually make you not nervous? Well, only if you buy into the original conceit that like, if you put on the right clothes, you're actually hiding your essential humanity. Like you're hiding your dangly bits, right? We know you've got dangly bits. We have them ourselves. And yet, we all like to pretend that we don't. Modesty is so weird, it's like, oh, there's a babe in a bikini, but I'm pretending she doesn't have genitals because that's what the bikini allows us to do, right? Or in fundamentalist Islamist countries where they're like, oh, all the men need to grow beards because if they don't, they look like women and they make us attracted to them. What? I'm sorry, excuse me? I am not one to shame anyone's sexuality, but I think you might not be as straight as you think you are. I think I have reached the point, though, where I will no longer wear a tie. Like, the only people that would care if I wear the ties will be in the casket when it's their funeral, which is the only event to which I would wear the tie. So, like, why am I keeping the tie? I guess one day my son might get married. I wonder what kind of review he would leave me if I showed up naked. I guess that's the real reason we have clothes, right? Is like when your son starts dating in high school, you don't want to be like, hey, good to meet you. And all this complaining, and I'm just a dude. Like, we have it so easy. You go, when you get married, you go and you rent a tux for $150 and you're done. Like, the dude takes what he like, puts it on you, takes one look. He's like, I could alter that, but you'd still look fat and ugly. So why? And then you walk out the door. 3 days later, you bring the tux back. You never have to look at it ever again. My wife has the wedding dress. She can still fit into it, by the way. Good for her. In the closet. There's still pieces of the fabric all over our house. Like, every now and then, I'm like, what the hell is it? Oh, it's a piece of sacred wedding dress fabric that you know, she made her own wedding dress. She's amazing. But I every now and then encounter this fabric, and it's like, well, I can't use this to, you know, I'm like looking through the rag box in the closet or whatever to like mop up a spill. And I'm like, oh, here's an old towel. Here's an old t-shirt. Oh, here's a piece of the wedding dress. Better not use that. We have it so easy. We have it like I have to go through all these, when I'm posing people, I'm like, you know, ladies, you gotta stand up straight. You gotta turn this way. You gotta turn your head back this way. You gotta point the bouquet just a little bit. Make sure you get your ring finger around the side of the bouquet so we can see the giant piece of money that was spent to initiate this whole process, right? And not the piece of money that was spent on the process, the piece of money that was spent to get the process started. We want to see that in the photo. Dudes, by the way, just right hand into a fist, left hand over it, close your top button, you're done. That's it. That's all you got to do. We don't really care how you look because you're just the dudes. And you know, then on the other hand, you do have to say, like, to the guy in the t-shirt, like, buddy, this event that you're walking into, this costs $50,000. Like, could you find, I don't know, like, get on Amazon, like the Amazon Basics shirts that have buttons on them. Could you sew some buttons onto the front of your shirt, please? So it's Father's Day, and this kind of ties in because you're supposed to buy your dad a tie on Father's Day. It ties in. See what I did there? Now I can't even use my outro. Keep the ends out for the ties, but can't even use it. I'm just gonna have to say goodbye at the end of this video. All right. The point I'm trying to make is Father's Day. You're supposed, like, I'm a father, and you're supposed to do these set things. Like, you buy your mom flowers on Mother's Day, and you have no idea what to buy your father because he's emotionally closed off and not vulnerable and doesn't tell you what he actually desires in life, and so you buy him a tie. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what capitalism says. You want to respect the people in the church? You wear a tie. You want to tell your dad you love him even though you don't actually know who he is as a person? You go buy him a tie. You go buy something. I don't want my kid to buy me a tie. I mean, he's 8. He doesn't have a job. If I wanted him to buy me, I'd be like, hey, buy me some Carter Hall, kid. You got to go down this road of the things you're supposed to do, the boxes you're supposed to check. Wear nice clothes to the wedding. Take your dad out for a lunch at Olive Garden and buy him a tie or a nice shirt. Fuck that. Fuck all that. I don't want any of that. And I don't, look, fatherhood has been hard. Fatherhood is always hard. I'm not trying to take anything away from the parents of quote unquote normie kids. It is hard. This is work. This is not, it is not the kind of thing you can explain to people who don't understand how much work it is to raise a child who you didn't know was going to live, who several times in their infanthood you might have lost, and then a child who has disabilities and is incredibly vulnerable to the world around them. And like, you're the man, right? You're the dude, and you are supposed to, gender roles aside, right? I am the, I'll put it in my terms, so I'm not offending anybody. I'm the dude. I feel responsible. I am the person who is supposed to teach this small person whatever roles they want to take on later in life. I'm supposed to teach them how to protect themselves and how to protect those they care about. Like, that's my responsibility. I'm not up for that. I can't do that. We have to keep up this illusion that we actually know what the hell we're doing. We have no idea. There are no classes. There's no instruction manual. You got no idea what you're doing. What I want is for all this to mean something. Like what I want is for this to be carried forward, not necessarily by my kid or any kid in particular, but like for the message of what being a father means, for that to be heard. Because like it should be a day where we talk about what we value. I want to use the opportunity to say, hey, I've seen some shit, and here's my pulpit for a second. And what I want to say is that no matter how old you are, I have seen evidence of this in my life. No matter how old you are, you're still just a child. You will always be the child of your parents, or a child in the metaphysical sense, and every single person deserves not only the nurturing mother stuff, but also the fathering, fence building, and cave hiding and fire lighting, protecting, like whatever gender you get those roles from or whatever. Like not trying to get into that, but like you need these things. You need these presences in your life, even if they come from yourself. That's what each person needs and deserves, and we don't live in a world that gives it to us. And so if you want to aspire to something, right, Father's Day should be about aspiration. Like I want to aspire to be a better father. It has to begin with the recognition of that, of what the if you want to gender it, of what the male role of parenting is, and we have to carry that forward to people who aren't our children and to ourselves, because it doesn't just stop when you become an adult. You don't lose your vulnerabilities when you become an adult, and you certainly, if you do, you certainly gain them back when you become a parent. That's for damn sure. With that, I have emptied my coffee thermos, and I'm down to mostly the end of this bowl. So I'm getting my smoking legs back under me. I am smoking a little bit more. It feels good. I've missed it. It feels nice. And my wife was commenting. She was like, I've given you shit about this in the past, but it's good that you have a vice that makes you go sit outside where I don't have to look at you. That's what she said, actually. That was verbatim. No one wanted to trade me for Carter Hall. I think I will buy some match blend from Pipes and Cigars or something like that, just to have an easy smoking burley. Someone mentioned that I threw Carter Hall on the ground at one point, and I looked up my old pipe videos about, there was like the Defiant Pipes Definitive Carter Hall review. It was like 25 minutes long. Who the hell ever watched my videos? Why would you watch a 25-minute video about Carter Hall? Like just in that amount of time, you could drive to the store and buy a luxury pouch of Carter Hall and bring it home and smoke it. Why would you watch the review? Whatever. But I did do. So I didn't watch it. I didn't go back and see what I actually thought about Carter Hall. And my recollection was like, hey, this is fine tobacco, but adequate tobacco, but I need more out of my smoking time, and if I'm gonna risk cancer, I want more flavor. And so that was what I've done. Well, now I'm in a situation where I want something I could smoke on the river to keep the bugs away, that's not gonna like char my tongue like a strong English. So, but yeah, I got a bunch of good stuff in my cellar. It's still just a Huggies box under my desk, but I got some good stuff in there. So I'm excited about getting back into it a little bit, and excited to be with you all again. Thank you so much for watching. We're now, well, we were almost out. Now I have ash all over my fancy pants, because of course I've been wearing them every day since the wedding. Thank you so much for watching. Tell your father whatever you should tell your father, because it's an individual relationship with actual people in it. I can't prescribe what you should tell your father. That's the whole point. See you next time.